Good afternoon. Welcome for joining us at this summer welcome events. My name is Sana Nelson, and I am the Alumni Relations Officer working in the Alumni and Families Relations Office at RISD. I'm very excited to have you join us today. This is part of a series of summer welcome events that we are hosting for our incoming students and families, where you get to know a little bit about RISD through the perspective of parents, alumni, and students. It is a bit of a different flavor from the other webinars you might participate in with the RISD, where staff is mainly speaking. This is really the true experience as represented by our community of parents and students / alumni. I am very happy to say that we had about over 40 people register for this event, and people who were coming from a number of different countries, actually about 7 countries represented, including Ghana and India, Chile, Canada, the UAE, and about 16 states all over the United States, a number of registrants coming from New York and from California. This is a webinar where we're having families, undergrad and graduate students attend. So again, welcome. We're so excited to have you join us today. I will start with a quick overview. As you can see, the agenda is on the screen, and I will be able to share with you some information about what the incoming class of both undergrads and grads look like. This will be followed by a welcome from the Family Association leadership, and then three representatives of the alumni group will be welcoming you into the RISD fold as well as the alumni fold, because as you join RISD, it is a continuing experience that goes beyond the 4 years or 5 years you will be at the school, or the 2 years on a graduate program. And you will hear about those alumni and the students' experience. And then we will open the floor for a Q&A. But if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen to start typing in your questions. We will answer those during the Q&A period, but as you think of questions, just type them in. And now to give you a bit of data on the incoming class in the fall for undergraduate, we had 5,431 applicants, and we accepted 515 students. So that's about a 16% acceptance rate. Where are the students coming from? They are coming from a number of states and countries. And as you can see, the top 5 states being New York, California, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Texas. And out of the 20 countries represented in the incoming class, top countries are China, India, South Korea, Canada, and Taiwan. 49% of students admitted identify as belonging to historically underrepresented groups. So this is the undergrad. And now look at the profile of the graduate incoming class. We had over 2,000 applications, 305 incoming graduate students, so an acceptance rate of 32%, which includes 2020 deferrals. Whereas students coming from the top represented states are New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Texas. And the top countries of origin, China, India, South Korea, Canada, and the UAE. From the admitted students, 22% come from historically underrepresented groups, and 21% of the enrolled students come from historically underrepresented groups. And now I would like to get a better sense of the people who have joined us during this session. We want to hear where you're coming from. So if you're open to it, please type in the chat box and let us know where you're coming from. And I will share some shout outs to everyone. San Francisco Bay, you guys are typing fast. California, Seattle, Massachusetts, LA, New Jersey, Ghana, California, Maryland, Colombia, San Francisco Bay Area, Pennsylvania, Montana. We have in Italy, Pennsylvania. What did I miss? I know I've missed some. You guys were typing faster than I was able to read at the beginning. I don't know if I said Italy. But thank you everyone from joining us. Puerto Rico, Santa Monica. We're so excited to see that diversity of representation, and we're looking forward to being able to answer your questions about your incoming experience at RISD. And now I would like to introduce our parent speaker. Catherine Jones is the parent of a student who will be graduating from the painting department in 2023. She has been very involved with the Families Association and is a member of the Social and Communications Committee, as well as a family ambassador. You can see her bio in the chat, but I would like to mention that as a family ambassador, she has been able to mentor an incoming family last year and answer their questions as their student was adjusting to RISD. This is a program that's open to all incoming families. And if you're interested in it, let us know, ask us questions, and we'll be able to send you information as well about it. And more is available on the website. But with no further ado, Catherine, welcome to this event.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you for being here, no matter where you're joining us from. We do have a good representation here, a global representation. I'm the mother of a junior majoring in painting, and a couple sentences about myself is that after about 35 plus years, I decided to jump back in the game, and I'm getting my master's degree in public health from George Washington University here in Washington, D.C. So that just, I mentioned that because I'm part of the lived experience of online learning at the university level. And as you know, there are pros and cons to this. Some of the challenges can be enormous, especially for new students. So I'm here, I understand where students are coming from. This said, I have a point of comparison on how well RISD is doing on handling COVID and the support they're offering their parents and students based on my experience at GW. And I would just like to say that I am totally impressed with the holistic, supportive, and caring approach that RISD has had over the last year and continues to have, quite frankly. As Sana mentioned, I'm a volunteer family ambassador, and the good news is that as an incoming family, you're automatically a part of this association, and you have the option to be supported by an ambassador like myself. There are other parents that are in this program that are here really to mentor you through the first year in particular. As an ambassador last year, I acted as a mentor. But one thing I would like to say is that I learned just as much as I shared. And that was a real benefit to me because as I was getting information on choosing a major, summer job opportunities, how to access the material fund, vacation timing, and everything else, I was able to pass that to my own son and have him I was just more on top of things. So I really did feel like I was giving and getting at the same time. RISD also, I wanted to mention, has a new family website that they've worked very hard on, and it's an amazing resource because what they've done is they've put all the information that a parent would want or need in one place. So you don't have to go searching through the general website to find information that's pertinent to you. And I find that very helpful. I invite you to check it out. RISD also has a quarterly family newsletter and webinar series that are online, so you can access them at your own convenience. But they are filled with information that is also helpful. And I think one thing that I will say about this outreach program is, for me, the purpose is that you don't feel alone as a parent. I think it can be a little overwhelming, especially in times of COVID, not to have sort of the personal access that you might have. But RISD has done a remarkable job of creating channels like this one to help you feel welcome and to answer your questions. And with that, I'd just like to say, please stay healthy and safe, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Catherine. And now we would like to get a sense of your inclination in terms of the arts world. If you were stranded on a deserted island, what is one item that you would bring with you? Would you bring charcoal and a sketchbook, a chisel, straight edge ruler, a video camera, or paintbrushes and color? It looks like we are having more people focus on bringing a video camera. And I have to admit, it has been the case during the other summer welcome sessions we have held as well. So yes, video camera is the winner. Thanks for participating in this poll. And now I would like to introduce the Becky Funk. She is from Massachusetts and graduated in 2005 in graphic design. And she is the vice chair of the Alumni Club of Boston. She has played many hats at RISD as a student and as a staff and as a volunteer. So I'm very happy to be able to have her share some of her experience with you today.
Thanks, Sana. Hi, everyone. My name is Becky Fong Hughes. I'm a 2005 graduate of the graphic design department. I'm actually born and raised from Cranston, Rhode Island, which is only about 15 minutes from Providence and RISD, and I absolutely loved my experience there. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say welcome to all of you. Congratulations, first year students, transfers, and grads. This is an exciting time of your life, and I just want you to really savor it, but also enjoy the time that you'll have in the journey and the path to getting to RISD as well. So congratulations. And on behalf of the RISD alumni community, the club associations, affinities as well, and regional and global clubs, I'd like to welcome all of you and let you know that we are here for you as a current student, incoming student, parents, families, the support network that you have. It is a real lifelong partnership and collaboration. So it doesn't just happen after you graduate and become an alumni. It really is an integral part of while you're a student, as well as I would highly recommend everyone tap into their network of alumni, not only for professional development and career choices, but just to stay in contact with people that have a common bond with you. I found that a lot of the times when I moved around and changed jobs after graduating in different cities, I actually lived in 5 different cities in 6 years. I always relied back on my RISD alumni network, as well as career services, student affairs, a lot of the faculty and staff that I had met at RISD while I was a student, whether it was a mentor, a work study advisor, even during internships. So RISD has a lot of wonderful things to offer, not only academically, but lifelong friendships, partnerships, and collaborations. And as you know, RISD is a global community. So anywhere you go in the world, as you continue your path as an artist, designer, chef, explorer, RISD has a lot of different pathways to success and a lot of different endeavors for your future. So I just wanted to share a little bit more about my own path to RISD. I was very fortunate. Having grown up in Rhode Island, I had some access to RISD, but I went to a great public high school, and my art teacher in high school was really someone who supported my path to RISD. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. My brother went to engineering school at MIT. My sister was a marine biologist major. My dad was a pharmacist. My mom was a stay-at-home parent. And I think they were a little unsure what to do with me since I loved communication and language, but I ended up in the visual arts. And my high school art teacher actually was very good at understanding the application process to RISD. Every year, at least 1 or 2 students would apply to RISD and get in. My year, 3 students applied, 3 students got in, and all 3 of us went. So it's been very exciting to see that high school, continue to flourish. And I really appreciated that my high school art teacher saw my passion and my talent and really helped me navigate my way to RISD. And so when I got to RISD, I was quite excited. It was a time of my life where I was really growing up as a young adult, finding my own independence and voice and identity. I also found that I was pretty extroverted, so it was easy for me to jump right in. And I applied for RISD Reach, which is now called POSE. It's an early program for students to get on campus and do community service and learning. So I actually was with 40 other students who were freshmen. I lived in South Hall, which was excellent. I met other freshmen, and we did community service right before orientation. And so, moving along during my journey at RISD, I found it very important to take part in various activities. So right off the bat, I was recruited into Student Alliance, which is our government program. And I just found that was an easy way to meet upperclassmen as well as have impact and change on campus, whether it was student driven activities or through the department. Right when I started was Laptop Initiative. So it's really important, having some say in what your educational path will be. I found that was a really interesting course for me, as well as after I graduated as an alumni, I became part of Alumni Council, and then I led various clubs as I moved to different cities. One of my favorite parts of RISD was the Nature Lab and just really accessing a lot of the resources, not only as a freshman foundation student to draw and really make things with my hands, but utilizing the library, the material collections, utilizing my faculty as not only a resource for professional development, but also feedback and critique on my work style. And to this day, I stay in touch with my faculty, which is really great. I've been invited back to be a guest critic or for degree project. So I currently work as a creative director at a small company just right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And I focus on philanthropy, nonprofit stewardship, and donor recognition that is 2D and 3D creative output. So it's pretty exciting. I work with a lot of academic and healthcare, nonprofit, and corporate and financial clients, creating designs for them to recognize their donors and their various award programs that they have. So I'm going to hand it off to my fellow alum, Beth, and give her the floor to share her experience.
Myself, how about that? There we go. Am I on?
Yep, you're good, Beth.
Okay, so my name is Beth Nukem Vogel, and I am a 1980 grad in the apparel department. I understand that seems like ancient history, and it really is. But I'm here to kind of give you a different perspective. I was a transfer student. And although I had graduated from a small private school in the suburbs of Detroit that had a fabulous art department called Cranbrook, my parents really insisted that I take a year at a big public rah-rah university just to have that experience, which I did. And so I arrived as a sophomore at RISD. At that time, the apparel department was pretty small. I would say my sophomore class was maybe 12 or 15 students. And it was just the perfect environment. I really can't stress that enough, because it allowed me to develop individually, but it also, we were such a small, cohesive group. I never felt alone. I didn't feel like I was at the end of a limb about to crash. So it was as a result of my peer group, as well as the absolute incredible faculty that we had. And I think that that's the one consistent thing that I can impart upon you is that even 40 years ago, when I was at RISD, we enjoyed a really top-notch reputation in the art school world, and that's true to today. And so the result is all of my fond memories of RISD, and they're all good. One of the ones that reoccurs more often than not is how hard I was working. I mean, those long studio hours, I cannot impress upon you enough, sometimes midnight and later. And yet I really, really enjoyed it. And there's a reason for that. And that's because thanks to RISD's reputation, my peer group was really, really talented. But more importantly, my professors and instructors were such inspirational sources for me. How could I not put my best foot forward? You know, how could I not stretch myself just that little bit further? That kind of encouragement and inspiration really combines to make an environment unlike anything else that I can really describe. I'll give you one little anecdote. I had a professor who came in from Manhattan every Tuesday night. He taught Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, got back on the train and went back to Manhattan and had a perfectly thriving business. And, you know, if that doesn't inspire you as a student, you know, if teachers are willing to make that kind of sacrifice for you, well, then, you know, it's kind of your responsibility to do your best, don't you think? So I was launched. So you're going to say to yourself, why is she still involved with RISD? She's out for 40 years. She's clearly retired. And the reason is because I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for that experience. RISD launched me into a career that I think I was made for and that I loved. And I also feel like my RISD education keeps re-echoing over and over and over again, to the point that 4 years ago, I took up calligraphy. I just feel this need to keep making things and producing something, I guess is what I have to say. So I say to the incoming class, enjoy yourself, seize your opportunities. These are wonderful opportunities that will serve you for many, many years to come. And I have one bit of advice to parents, and that is, don't plan any family functions for those first 2 or 3 days that your student's home on vacation. Chances are really good that they'll just want to sleep. All right, have fun. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Beth, for sharing your experience at RISD. And I am very happy to be welcoming Beryl Bay, who is an alumni who graduated in 2015 in graphic design and is from New York City.
Hi, just want to make sure that my video is on.
Your video is on.
Okay,
Yes.
Great, perfect. I don't have to see myself, that's fine. Hi everyone, my name is Beryl. I graduated in 2015. I guess that's fairly recent, from graphic design. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about my experience before and a little bit during and after. So I actually didn't know about RISD until it was almost too late to prep for a portfolio. And I had some very strict Asian parents. My mom is what they call a tiger mom in the Bay Area. And it wasn't until 10th grade when I made this project that was actually just like a children's storybook. We wrote like a story. We understand the tone of our audience and language, and we were going to make art for it. But I decided to go just all out with what little experience I had by making, printing, painting each page, and then binding it together with like yarn and cardboard and like a soft stuffed fabric cover. But it was that project that made my parents decide to have a little talk between themselves and ask my opinion with like one question, which is, do you want to do art in the future? I was hesitant because, you know, Asian mindset, but I said yes. So that kind of set off this really long and tiring journey of my mom researching and working with me to find what having that future would take. And we found art schools. We found this really amazing art teacher with portfolio experience to kind of guide us. Really didn't sleep much because I continued taking my AP classes and tests. But I I really have to thank my teacher, Mrs. Lee, because I feel like there's people that change your life, and she's definitely one of those. She was like a point in time that truly pivoted mine, and the freedom she allowed just kind of unleashed what creativity I didn't know I had. And she knew the journey of like the different pieces you have to do, different requirements, what schools were looking for, almost like personalities to different schools. And she believed in me way more than I believed myself. But, you know, SAT and AP tests aside, it's how I wound up at RISD. I got a merit scholarship for my first year. And then at RISD, I really, really didn't sleep. I mean, no, I'm kidding. It's a choice. Genuinely, it's a choice. But like the experience I had at Miss Lee's, it was an even greater form of freedom and encouraged exploration at RISD, where, and this is very much like a personal choice. I didn't want to sleep. Compared to what I was getting to do, sleep was just unimportant. Whereas plenty of my classmates had sleep every night. There are people who have never done an all-nighter, which I sincerely respect, because that's not easy. I have gone 3 days without sleep. It's okay. I'm alive. I'm doing great. But by freedom, I mean that despite the fact that I was in graphic design, and we have some amazing things like letterpresses, like old school letterpresses in the building, I could go to any other building and find help, find inspiration, and use facilities like the industrial sewing machines in the apparel building, or the laser cutter and the metal shop in the industrial design building. Regardless of like you not being in that discipline, there'll be people there to help you. Whether it's students, whether it's your friends that you've made, or just people that are like maintaining the shops. They will help you and they will teach you. But I loved foundation year, and it's definitely the most intense. But I don't think I will ever in my life be able to find that kind of pure creativity again, just in terms of ambiance and like everyone. The amount of people that I met, friends I made, and how much I grew in that 1 year felt like any other 2 years worth of experiences and emotions and learning. And my favorite class was always drawing, and mainly because it was natural for me. And for the rest of my life, I think my most natural state is with a paper and pencil. But what I learned the most was 3D, or spatial dynamics, which I'm not sure if it's still called that. But learning to work in a wood shop, working with textiles I've never had the chance to, was just spectacular for me. I mostly didn't sleep for that class. The other thing that really changed for me was that I used to be mortified of speaking out loud. Like, it would just turn red from answering a question in class, and so shy. But I loved RISD so much that I became a RISD tour guide for admissions and the international office. I used to spend 3 hours sometimes just walking 1 or 2 families around campus and telling them everything that I loved about it and gushing about the school. I happened to take this 18th century decorative arts class, and it added a ton of information to my knowledge of the campus. We'd be walking on our way to painting, and I'd be like, this building on our right is this and this, as we'd go by it. Originally, I was actually geared for illustration, but my heart was kind of torn, because if it was going to be true love, I would have gone into apparel. I mean, to this day, I haven't worn a single costume I didn't make by hand. But there was also a kind of compromise in graphic design, because it's not graphic design if you don't want it to be. It combines design, typography, digital illustration, and it kind of, you know, bleeds into photography, videography, and any other form of art and design, actually. But because of that path, today I'm a hardcore designer. I'm a VP art director at Mizuho, which, yes, it is a bank, but I get to head branding, and I get to decide all things creative for the company as a whole in this country, and sometimes globally for the other regions around the world. I really love my team of designers. And outside of that, I actually still do a ton of creative things. Like, I guess it's kind of it was kind of in my bio, but I had started a nonprofit, or I co-founded one for the pandemic, because we all knew that like we didn't have enough safety gear, didn't have enough face masks, but we breached the procurement failure when all shipping and manufacturing traditional ways were kind of in collapse. And we saw the bigger community come together in designing safety gear, just sewing face masks, donating money. And we managed to bring in like hundreds of thousands of masks to healthcare workers in New York and New Jersey, like Elmhurst, Sinai, Columbia. It was really painful, but very heartwarming at the same time. Now, after work, I also give a lot of my time to education, nonprofit, and startup. It's actually redesigning how we get into higher education, especially to underprivileged communities and schools, and we're kind of bridging big gaps of knowledge of what students and families need to know. And I think my most important point is that I'm doing all these things because I went to RISD. RISD can guide you to what you want to do in life, whether it's being a fine artist, entrepreneur, social activist. If you want, RISD can bolster and expand your mind to far beyond your discipline. It's also why I stay with the RISD community.
Thank you, Beryl. And I do want to point out that all our speakers today actually have started their companies. And this is something that we see quite a bit at the RISD. There's so much entrepreneurship. And part of it is the type of students who are attracted to our school, but it is also part of our curriculum where students are asked to think through their idea over and over and get criticized by others who jump in and share new ideas or new perspectives to make you look at your project. But now I'd love to welcome to the floor Michael Ferris, who is a current student. He is a student in architecture, graduating in 2023.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys see me? I can't see.
We can see you, yes.
Okay, great. Hey, so I am originally from Southern California, Newport Beach, Orange County area, and I was originally attracted to architecture because my neighbor is an urban planner, and I would always go over to his house and look at these amazing drawings from like bird's eye view and be like, oh, that's so dope. I wonder what it would be like walking through these villages. And so then it led me to RISD because I was always more fascinated with sort of the visual arts side of architecture, because there's technical schools that study architecture, but I was never really interested that much in the tech side or the math side of it. Anyways, so I came to RISD, and it was amazing, and I definitely wanted that East Coast liberal arts perspective, and RISD does an amazing job of combining your studio classes with your liberal arts credits. And one cool thing that I love doing is taking classes over at Brown. I've taken intro to creative nonfiction writing, which is super cool. Also, I think it was like sustainable investments, which is great. Both of those are awesome, and they transfer right into your RISD credit. So it's basically like taking a course at RISD, except at Brown. Anyways, I saw there was a question on winter session. So winter session is an amazing time for you to take classes outside of your major. I took a global course through RISD Global, which is kind of like our travel program, to the Azores Islands, which are about 1,000 miles off the coast of Portugal, sort of in the middle of the Pacific. And I went there with 7 other students from RISD for about 4 weeks. And it was a life-changing experience. Every morning we'd go for runs, jump in the Pacific Ocean, go for morning hikes to volcanoes and what have you. And then we'd stop by a local studio artist and see what they're doing, how they're using the local materials. Yeah. Anyways, I also really during winter session, I took some courses called Baroque Rome, and then also an inflated furniture course. So you can really kind of do whatever you want, which is great. Outside of RISD, I was the president last year of RISD AIAS, or Architectural institute for students. And there we try and create community within the architecture department, and we sort of bring students to local firms in the Providence area to try and connect the community with Providence. Yeah, and then also this over quarantine, this whole last year of the virus, I started a podcast called RISDology, which features alumni, students, and current like professors at RISD. So you can just Google www.risdology.com, and you can see all. I think we have 8 podcasts so far. So really amazing alumni that we've been able to get on there, which is great. And then I'm also involved in eShip, which is RISD's entrepreneurship club. And Sana just beautifully mentioned that there's 40% of RISD alumni who end up starting their own venture. And this is primarily because the CRIP process at RISD, which all of the past speakers have artfully mentioned, is like a feedback loop. And you're constantly re-presenting a project after you've received maybe some criticism or some critiques of that, and you come back and you pitch it again. And that's why entrepreneurs flourish at RISD, because we know how to not give up, which is a great thing to learn how to do. And so anyways, I'm also a tour guide at RISD, and I work in the architecture department and do some other odd and end jobs around town, which is great. And so, yeah, feel free to ask me about the Disability Services Center. I love taking advantage of that. If you have any type of disability, you can get accommodations for that, and the students, the professors are very accommodating for that as well. But yeah, and also feel free to find me on LinkedIn after this webinar. I know it's only very quick, it's an hour. So if you have any questions, parents, students, feel free to message me, and we can get in touch. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michael. And as you can see, Michael has been part of a number of clubs, has even started a number of opportunities at RISD. And this is something that students are welcome to create. If they have a good idea, share it with student services, and they can initiate a club. There's indeed over 70 clubs at RISD. There's great athletic facilities, and RISD has a number of very important events. I would encourage parents to look into RISD Weekend. We will have more information about it coming up. We will invite parents for an in-person day on October 9th, and a number of virtual events. Artist Ball might be also something you want to hear from our panelists about. I hear that it's an amazing dance event with lots of very creative costumes. I would like to share with you as well a number of other resources. Indeed, we've asked people when they registered to share some of the questions they had, and a number of people wanted to know about resources available to them, how to get more engaged as a family, or how to receive support. So the website families.risd.edu is a website that Catherine mentioned before. We created last year in order to find an easy way for parents to go look for questions. There's a number of tabs. If you're looking for resources, under resources, even for incoming families, you'll see a number of support services. There are resources in terms of academic support. Michael mentioned that earlier on. We have our Center for Arts and Language with staff and students as well, who can provide some support if you need the support because you have an IEP, or because you actually just need to, a sounding board to be able to practice making a presentation or working on a paper, or time management. Those are all places where the center can support you. Families event, we organize a number of families events that are advertised either during direct emails to you, but as well on our family's website. And we want to make sure you're aware of those. So make sure you update your information, please. And those are webinars to help you support your student as you're going, as he or she's going through the year at RISD. We also have a family's newsletter that comes out regularly. And we wanted to also give you a glimpse of a number of sites on campus. Tillinghast Farm is away from the urban campus. It is about 20 minutes away, and it's a beautiful property with access to the water and a great huge lawn where students can go play some sports, paint the landscape, go to the beach. It's a very, very popular spot amongst the students and alumni alike. Another place is RISD Museum. If you have not been there, please make sure to check it out when you come to the campus. And it, after being closed for about a year due to COVID, we are now open, and you can find so many opportunities to look very closely at art from different cultures at the RISD Museum. The Buddha is humongous sculpture that many students go to, or others, because of its very peaceful energy, I would say. But anyway, there are so many spots that to be recommended on campus. And if you have questions about them, please do reach out to our speakers. They will be very happy to share more about it. But definitely, I'll put in a plug for the Nature Lab, which was in the picture that Becky Funk shared. And it is a place where you can take out a sculpture or like bones of an animal or a plant and take a close look at and then draw. It is a very, very special place. And now, before we open our time to the Q&A, I just want to make sure that you are aware that you can go to the Q&A function and type in your questions, and I will make sure to read those questions aloud to our speakers. I also want to mention that in addition to our speakers, we are lucky to have a number of staff present here to be able to answer some questions as well. Judy Talbot, who's the Assistant Dean of Student Support and Administration, is on. Bob Samuel, who's the Executive Director of Health and Wellness, is on. Amy Mitchison, who's Director of Operations for Student Affairs, is also able to answer questions. And I do want to put in a big thank you for Mariam Khan, Maria Tsao, and Claire Robinson for managing all the behind the scenes here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to put on this webinar. And now let me look at the Q&A and ask some questions. We have a question from Patricia Carr. My son is concerned about how to store art supplies and personal items he brings to RISD over the summers. Where do students store their things when not living on campus? Anu, would you like to take that question? And then maybe some of our participants can also share their thoughts.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anu Mitchison. I work in Student Affairs, and we do partner with a storage facility called Jones Moving and Storage, and they work exclusively with us in terms of picking up all of your storage and then delivering it before students move back in the fall of next year. So, you'll find more information about that on the housing site if you have a student living on campus. And there are some other local opportunities as well, other storage companies that students may have used. So if any of the students or alums have additional, but in housing, we work very closely with Jones Storage.
Thank you so much, Anu. Did anyone else want to share how they stored their things? Becky, thank you.
Well, sure. Mine's kind of a funny anecdote because I was from Rhode Island. I actually had a lot of my West Coast friends or friends who couldn't go home for the holidays either stay and visit with my family, and then some of the fellow friends or students who needed like an extra space for like a computer monitor or something like a mini fridge. It was a great way to kind of keep friendships. So I just wanted to say sometimes befriending locals that live near RISD or in the area is a great way to store some things. So maybe if your roommate's from Providence or Connecticut, asking a friend to say, oh, hey, do you mind storing my portfolio so I don't have to fly back to California with it? Things like that.
Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. I see another question about winter session. I know that, Michael, you spoke a little bit about your experience. I wonder if anyone else is interested in sharing some of the classes they've taken during winter session.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, Beth.
So winter session when you're in apparel is a little different. I definitely took out of the box winter session choices for my sophomore and junior year, but by senior year, it was very much expected that I would interview and intern in New York. So I'm sure that stayed exactly the same. The RISD alumni group in New York in apparel really tries to foster that so that our senior classmates, our class really has a nice entree into the work environment. So that as you're planning your winter session, I think you should, if you're an apparel major, you should remember that your senior year apparel winter session will probably be in New York. That's it.
Thank you, Beth. There is a question from Juan Falcon. Can you talk about how the year is divided in trimesters? Julie, would you be willing to share?
Sure, I can speak to that. And I would start by saying, although there are 3 terms that all RISD students participate in, it's not really a traditional trimester structure. We've got a fall semester and a spring semester, and those are really the full 12-week experience. Winter session, our 3rd term in between fall and spring, is much shorter. It's 5 to 6 weeks long. And for the most part, even though it is a semester that that's all students participate in, generally students are not taking their core courses in their majors during that time. There's a lot more room for exploration, delving into the liberal arts, looking at courses in majors so that students can inform their interdisciplinary studies. So it's a 12-week semester for fall, 5 or 6 for winter session, lots of exploration, and another 12-week semester in spring.
Thank you so much, Julie. I would like now to address the question on the moving process that Melissa brought up. Can you tell us more about the moving process and the first few days leading up to the first day of classes? I have put in the chat a link that answers a number of questions about the moving process. I do want to share a quick anecdote that I heard from one of our parents during Monday's summer welcome, which is that you have a number of students who are helping. And this is something you've heard, I think, from a number of our speakers who shared that they had roles as TAs or as orientation leaders, etc. There are a number of job opportunities for our RISD students on campus, but some of our students are helping on moving day, and they can assist incoming students with bringing all their luggage to their room. But I was wondering if anyone from the panel would be interested in sharing more about their personal experience moving in, maybe Michael or Beryl especially.
I mean, I actually had fairly smooth, like we were saying that there is a moving company and storage facility that works with us. So I feel like, and I usually have a lot of stuff. It's been fairly smooth. And they do have either, students helping out, or there's these massive carts that you can put your things in whenever you move. So I don't even remember it as like a difficult thing.
Thank you, Beryl. Michael, how was your process?
I remember my mother doing a lot of it. So if you're fortunate enough to bring your parents along with you, that's great, because then you can just start socializing immediately.
That's true.
So yeah, do that if you can.
Yeah, right. Yeah, here I am, the mom. That's true. Cleanup committee right here, and all that. But and I have a pack rat too. But they're very, the students are very helpful. It's a smooth process in general. And if you do go with a moving company, they do this all the time, year in and year out. So they really know what they're doing, and it's just a very smooth process.
I just want to add, Sana, that I added a link in the chat. So if you're an incoming new first year student, options for you to mail your belongings to a UPS site that's just down the street that will deliver area. So it's easier for you to pick those up when you move in. So the link is in the chat. And like the student says, we are hoping we will have students upper class helping, and we are hoping that the opening will be as close to normal or traditional as hopefully we have we will have the students there, we will have orientation leaders there, RAs there, staff there, and we are all very excited to have that back.
Thank you, Annie. Michael, did you want to share anything else outside of being grateful for your parents?
I don't think so. I do remember on the first couple days of class that we get emails from our professors, because we get enrolled in our studio classes prior to us coming, and they send us like a list of materials to get, and that usually falls around the same time when we're moving in. And so just like moving in also consists of going down to the RISD store and purchasing materials, which they give you a great discount for. Yeah.
I also remember, oh crap, what was I gonna say? Oh my God, I really just forgot. But yeah, it's I actually remember that. Oh, right, the classes. So one of the things I remember was that because I had taken like AP classes and I had gotten certain scores on some of them, the classes were like, aside from foundation, our liberal arts classes were also picked for us. So I remember that I didn't take the English class that was kind of like the one that everyone took. So I got put in another class that I didn't realize that I was going to be in, which turned out to be one of my favorite classes that I remember every day for literature. So yeah.
Thank you, Beryl. I wanted to sorry, I was reading questions in the Q&A, so I missed this. But one of the questions was, do first-year students need to register for classes before they arrive on campus, or do they only take the foundations courses? I know that you will receive a number of orientation sessions to complete virtually that really gives you a good description of foundation year. But Julie, is there anything else you would like to add about the process?
Sure. So just to reassure our attendees that first year undergraduate students don't need to register for any courses. The EFS division, which is the umbrella for all first year undergrads, will automatically register students in their core courses, which will be drawing, spatial dynamics, and design, as well as their liberal arts courses, which are a literature seminar and an art history course. So those sections will come to you in the coming month. The EFS department is working on that right now.
Thank you, Julie. And now I have a question about, can you explain more how we can incorporate Brown courses into our schedules? I'd love to hear the experience of some of our panelists.
I can mention one thing. So Brown courses, a lot of RISD students actually don't do them, but I think it's a great idea. But what you have to do is a little bit of like registrar complexity, but you have to sort of reach out to the specific Brown course professor that you want to take, email them, say, hey, I'm a RISD student, I really want to take your course. They will let you know if they have space in their course to let you in. Most of the time they love having RISD students in their courses, and they usually say yes. And then you sort of have to pick up a paper from the RISD registrar, bring it to the Brown department. They have to sign it, and then you bring it back to RISD. So there's a little bit of paperwork involved, but it's really not too bad. And then they fit right into your RISD sort of letter grades. You can either have them as like pass fail, or you can have them, you can actually get a grade for them, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else who wanted to share their experience?
So one thing that I was going to just share is that I actually found it was in my schedule at RISD, I was very interested in the courses that were outside of my major. So when I was starting to fulfill credits as an upperclassman, I started to definitely take courses that were either out of major or obviously fulfilling the credits needed. So I never found an opportunity for myself to take courses at Brown, but I found that it was very engaging and exciting that I could. So I know that many students like to take foreign language. They might be taking business or economics, and those types of classes can also fulfill the credits you need to graduate. So that's a really great kind of companionship that we have with Brown. I would just always encourage first-year students, especially incoming freshmen, to pace yourself. It can be a quite rigorous program if you're not used to this type of coursework. Foundation is long studios. They have a lot of different types of homework and study, as well as then you have your liberal arts and art history. So, you know, before you jump into taking courses at Brown, I would really encourage you to get comfortable with your curriculum and schedule at RISD, and then see how that goes, as well as depending on what's available to you as an upperclassman. I know that sometimes I was able to do an independent study, or sometimes like an internship that would help fulfill credits if my schedule allowed for it, or if I wanted to take some extra time and just, you know, navigate my curriculum in such a way that was really a balance of time management and taking courses that I was really interested in at RISD with the time that I had. So I stuck to more of like a 4-year traditional coursework. I wasn't able to travel abroad, but I did a lot of internships and winter session courses that allowed for a lot of exploration and learning outside of the major.
Thank you so much, Becky. And I do want to point everyone's attention also to the fact that in the chat, there's a number of links to cross-registration with Brown University as well. So if you have questions about it, you can see it through clicking on the link. I have heard from a number of students or alums that they have taken advantage of the Brown gym, and also of social clubs at Brown in addition to RISD. I want to be mindful of the time and make sure we all answer still a number of questions. I know one parent, Kelly Ostro, had a question about where do you update your information to be on the RISD Family Alumni Newsletter list? And if you go to the family's website, you can go to Connect, and under Connect to update your contact information. And this is the best way to make sure your contact information is updated. And I will also be posting this right now on the chat, so you're able to easily access that. Another question from Barbara Skype is, what do families do once students finish moving in their stuff into their rooms on move-in day? I know that our office is planning a wine and cheese event at the RISD Museum for families, and this will be an opportunity for families to connect with other families There are also a number of sessions organized for students that parents can attend as well. I don't know if I know you wanted to mention anything else from what I've just shared about what parents can do.
Not necessarily, but we'll have a more detailed schedule out for students and families is to let their student be with their peers, as challenging as that may be. But we want them to meet their peers and we want them to get to know their neighbors. Have a night full of events planned for students. So the students certainly will be busy that with or carnival or something that we usually do for students. So stay tuned, more information will be out soon.
Thank you, Annie. I know that some families also had questions and students had questions about health and wellness around campus. In some of the questions they sent ahead of time. I don't know if Bob, you would want to address quickly what we've done at RISD in order to take into consideration the pandemic last year and then moving on for this year.
Sure enough.
Thank
you. Quickly, last year was very detailed in terms of dedensifying, mask wearing, and a lot of testing, just to make sure anyone who contracted the virus was isolated, and we supported them mostly on campus. And overall, the majority of the programming was done remotely. So coming back to the fall, since the vaccines are available, and CDC recommends outside without wearing a mask is acceptable, but we're also asking people to upload their vaccine status by August 1st. And we're hoping if we hit the 80% mark, which we're on track to, that we'll be able to have some more relaxed use of space in terms of masking and congregant events. So we have more students back on campus, more in-person classes and studios, and the more people are vaccinated, and I'm talking about everyone, the safer community we will have.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. There is a question from Olga about, are there any parent activities after orientation day on September 4th as you are planning your return flight? Indeed, we are planning some activities on that day, and please be on the lookout for communication coming your way about it. Otherwise, I think I want to be mindful of everyone's time. It is past the hour. I would like to thank everyone who has participated in this webinar for joining in to learn more about what this coming fall will look like. We're so excited to have you join us. Also, a big thank you to all our speakers, both alumni, parents, students, and staff for joining to answer your questions, sharing perspectives on the RISD experience. And we can't wait to see you in the fall in person. Bye.
Have fun.